So revisiting the ST line Focus, 6-speed gearbox, you have some carbon inlays, nice navigation, so all the usual. Red line at 6.5, can be pushed a little bit higher. I think the ultimate stop is at 750 RPM. Nice little car. However, that being said, it is a lot less than the Suzuki Swift Sport, which is in its area, being the B segment, in my opinion, the king. Even, let's see how we can stop this, even over the Fiesta ST, which is only a 3-cylinder, that's a lot more bulky. Moreover, the Fiesta is so much more expensive and is no longer being available commercially for sales in the Netherlands, so you cannot buy it new anymore. You can only buy it as an occasion. So second hand, got that before. And you also have another king that you could say, that's the Polo GTI, which has 2-liter 4-cylinders, also 4-cylinder like the Swift, but is also enormously expensive and even heavier than the Fiesta. So about heavier cars, they can be like 30 to even approaching 40% heavier. And the hot hatch, you want a light little car, so that disqualifies them, in my opinion, for being a hot hatch. It's also quite a hard lineup. If you now have a car, the Suzuki Swift Sport, which is lighter than its predecessor, so now we have the zc33s, which is the current Swift Sport, but before that the zc32s was the Swift Sport, but that was a heavier car than the new generation. Well, the new generation has a lot more new technology in it. It is still stiffer, and next to being stiffer, it's also lighter. So that's the thing to take into consideration there. On the other hand, you have the heavier cars like the Fiesta and Polo, which have more power, but they are also a lot heavier. So you feel a lot less of the sensations of driving a hot, nimble car in those cars compared to Suzuki Swift Sport, which offers that lightness and that really nice direct feeling component, which is lacking in those heavier cars. And they might say, yeah, a heavier car feels more luxurious, especially on highway speed. It feels more planted because it's heavier. But that takes away from the hot hatch experience, because the hot hatch experience should be, nice red carbon stitching, should be to give you a lightweight, nimble car that's also achievable. Because other cars are like, I think 8,000, perhaps even 10,000 euros more expensive. So that disqualifies them from the achievable point of view quite to a high degree, in my opinion. And also, if you look at reliability, you will not touch a Swift with your Fiesta or Polo. They will say, yeah, it's a luxury brand and you pay for quality. But that being said, you get 5 years of warranty on the Suzuki Swift, 5 or 6 years even, and about 2 years on the Fiesta or the Polo. So that gives you an indication of that perceived quality. And also, if you look at the statistics, you can run a Swift Sport for a lot less cost than Fiesta or Polo. Not only that they are heavier, so you have assurance, which is heavier based on weight. Also road tax is heavier based on weight. Also fuel consumption is heavier based on weight. But also the underpinnings of a Suzuki Swift Sport are even more sturdy than that of a Fiesta, for example. So if you look at the dimension of the axis where the wheels are fitted, you see that the Suzuki Swift Sport has a lot stronger components there. Also, it comes with a lighter frame, and the components are cheaper to begin with. So cheaper to begin with will help, but also you will be helped that you have a lot less strain on all the components because it's so much lighter. If you for example weigh 80 kilograms and then you add like 30% of your that weight, so that would be 24 kilograms in addition. If you carry around normally at an 80 kilogram frame and now you weigh 104, you will feel that definitely. If you take it to 40%, you will weigh 112, so you have an excess of 32 kilograms to take with you. For consideration, for a bug out bag or something like that, they say you should stay under 20% of your weight to do that with any degree of comfort, to lug that additional weight around. But it will be hard pressed if you have double that, double that of the recommended maximum. And that's also the case in the car. And even though that, for example, you have so much more weight, still the components of Suzuki Swift Sport are bigger and stronger to begin with, so that gives you quite an impression of what kind of quality you get there. And also, if you look at all the standard equipment, there's also a lot of luxury equipment in the Suzuki Swift Sport. You have to pay premium with both the Fiesta and the Polo, so you really pay a lot of money for little bit of extra weight, which might be beneficial if you feel planted on the highway, but you can also upgrade it to yourself. If you get a stiffer suspension, you'll feel more planted on the highway as well. But on the other hand, a standard Swift is able to cope with all uneven undergrounds a lot better than both the Polo and the Fiesta, which are a little bit more skittish. So it really depends on the road. If the roads are perfect, it might be that Fiesta or Polo gives you a little bit of more planted feel. If the roads are not so good, I will vow for the Suzuki Swift, because it can cope with all those irregularities a lot better than both the Fiesta and Polo can. So that's something to take into consideration. And also, if you want a little bit stiffer ride, you can just lower the Swift, and then you will have the stiffness level of the Fiesta and the Polo with a lot less drag, because you are lower now. And if you can also lower, for example, the Fiesta and the Polo, but then they become quite unbearably stiff, so to say. So they are not completely unbearable, but on more road surfaces than, for example, the Swift, because it has softer springs to begin with. So the suspension is more forgiving and mild to begin with. Because it is, again, a lot lighter, you don't need that excessive stiff springs to keep it reacting rapidly. Another thing to consider is that if you have your car over a period like 5 or 6 years, if you stay within that warranty period, you will have ease of mind with that Suzuki. And after the first 2 years, everything that goes wrong with it, you have to pay for in that Fiesta or that Polo. That's something to take into consideration again. And if you look at the room in the cars, the Swift is actually quite roomy. Only the boot is bigger in the Fiesta and the Polo, but the seating arrangement, especially in the back, is really comparable. Perhaps even better in the Swift, because you have a little bit more headroom, so to say. And you get the Japanese quality. The Swift is made other locations than in Japan, but not the Swift Sport. That's the halo car. And if you look at Ford has the Mustang, which is more of a halo car, and Volkswagen also has the Golf GTI above the Polo, so it's not a halo car. But for Suzuki it is. So they really made a lot of work to make it really feel special, and you feel also that you are in the top of the range of that brand. That's something nice to consider. And with Volkswagen, of course, you also have the Passat and other cars above it, even above the Golf. And within the Volkswagen Audi group, you also have cars like an RS3, which is comfortably suited above that, and also the likes of a R8 of Audi or RS6. So the same can be said with Ford. You also have a Focus, which is comparable, like the Golf ST, which is also not longer being delivered commercially, if I'm not mistaken, in the Netherlands. But also you have the Mondeo, also came as a ST version. So there are quite some things to consider here, which might be of interest to you if you want a B segment car. Hope this little jot also brought you a little bit of pleasure. I like reviewing cars. I try to do it with an open view, so not that I have a Suzuki, I'm only in favor of Suzuki. For example, that boot space is still a beneficial factor. You might even say that if in case of a crash, a heavier car to begin with is also better. So that's also one other point that might be in the favor of the Volkswagen or Ford. But that being said, Suzuki has made the Swift extremely stiff, and an extremely stiff, strong chassis will also be quite protective. I think it will be quite comparable, so don't let it put you off. But if you really want to have the best car, it might be that the Volkswagen or the Ford is better for your protection. Ciao, found a car out.